So today we're going to be reading The Dragon Prince. It's written by Laurence and illustrated by Cam Mack. And these are two Asian American, an author and an illustrator. So let's check out this title, this beautiful cover of this book, bright, vibrant colors. So the title, let's think about that. The Dragon Prince, a Chinese Beauty and the Beast tale. What does this title tell you about the book?
It's about a dragon.
Okay, there's a dragon, and we have a nice big picture of a dragon here. He looks pretty ferocious. So, what do you know about dragons?
They're big in Chinese culture.
Okay, excellent. And we also know this is Chinese because it says in the title, A Chinese Beauty and the Beast Tale. So, dragons are big in Chinese culture. So why else do you think that, what else makes you think that this is a Chinese story?
There's a Chinese girl on the front.
Okay, excellent. So a Beauty and the Beast tale. So what do you think, who do you think the dragon is and who do you think the girl is?
The dragon is the beast and the girl is the beauty.
Excellent. Yeah, that dragon definitely looks like a beast.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So, we're going to think about and read The Dragon Prince. All right. So let's record on our worksheet. The first part is K, what I know. Okay, and this is what we're going to write, what we just talked about, what we know about dragons, about China, about Beauty and the Beast. So what did we say we know?
That the dragon represents the beast and the girl represents beauty.
Beauty, okay. So you can jot that down.
Takes place in China.
Okay. It's a Chinese tale, that's right. Okay. Anything else?
It's like the American Beauty and the Beast.
Okay. How do you know that?
It would reflect this kind of the storyline of the Beauty and the Beast that we already know.
Okay. Good. I think you're right. So, we have some good background knowledge. So let's move on to the middle section, the W. W stands for what I want to know. Okay, so now we're going to think about what we want to know after reading this book. What do y'all think? Do you have any questions?
I want to know how it's similar and how it's different to the American version of Beauty and the Beast.
All right, good. Yeah, we know this is the Chinese version. How is it like the version that we know? Excellent. What else?
Why was there a Chinese version written?
Okay. Okay, good. Why does China have their own version?
When was it written?
When was it written? Okay. Good. Maybe we can figure that out.
When does it take place?
When does it take place? Yeah, is it modern? Is it ancient China? Exactly. Anything else?
Did they live happily ever after?
Did they live happily ever after? That's a good question. It is a fairy tale, so in fairy tales we know that it might live happily ever after. Excellent. Okay. I think we are all set for our K and our W. So think about, as we read the book, as we look through the pictures, think about these questions and think about how we can answer them when we're done. Okay. So now we're going to take a little picture walk. We're going to look through, this book has excellent illustrations. They're beautiful. So we're going to take a look at them, not read the words, focus on the pictures, and we're going to make predictions for ourselves what we think happens. All right. So I'm just going to cover up those words so you're not tempted. Okay. So what do we have here?
That's a girl, and she has a basket with a snake in it, and she's letting the snake go.
She's letting the snake go. Okay. Why do you think she's doing
'Cause she likes animals.
Okay. That is a good guess.
She's good, kind person.
Kind person. Okay, yeah. Maybe she's, maybe she saved the snake.
She's not afraid of it.
She's not afraid of it, exactly. Excellent. All right. What do we see now? What's going on?
There are people afraid of the dragon. Looks like they're
running away. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a good-sized dragon, so I might be afraid of it too.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we'll have to read. Why is there a dragon there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dragon in all its glory, right?
Right.
And what else is in this picture?
It looks like the girl from the first picture.
Yeah, it looks like it might be her.
Yeah, she's wearing the same kind of clothes. She's looking up at the dragon. Does she look scared?
No, she
No.
looks curious.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one of my favorite pictures.
Just the dragon flying over the rooftop.
Mm-hmm.
It looks
Is the
like
girl
the girl
with
is
her?
on
Him?
his shoulder.
It does look like that. Yep, you can see her. She's tiny, tiny compared to him. But yep. And I love these colors. You can tell it might be nighttime. They're dark and muted. And all you see is the dragons.
It's calm.
It's calm. Mm-hmm. So do you think, based on the colors and the illustrations, you said it was calm, that was excellent. Do you think she's scared?
No. I think the colors reflect her mood.
I think so too.
Calm and peaceful, maybe.
I think you're right. I mean, maybe she's a little scared. I mean, she's flying on a big
Right.
dragon, so I don't know if she's loving it, but she's okay
She's
with it.
curious
I think. She's
still.
curious. I think she is very curious. So, now what do we have?
Well, it looks like the dragon in the background really tiny
Mm-hmm.
and faded.
Mm-hmm. Right there.
So maybe they're exploring
Okay.
different parts of the world.
Okay.
Looks like they're
Like
underwater.
Aladdin.
Yeah.
Like an
yeah.
underwater castle or something?
It does look underwater, right?
Yeah.
Because we have fish,
Yeah. Seaweeds.
some seaweed. That would be interesting. Underwater palace. Here's another really good illustration. I love the colors in this book.
Yeah.
And so what is the girl doing?
Petting him.
Yeah, looks like she's petting him. Or she's definitely she's not scared.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not afraid.
She looks more comfortable.
She does look more comfortable.
And the dragon looks kind of surprised
Mm-hmm.
because he's probably used to people running away from him.
Exactly. So now, what do we have here? Oops.
Chinese man.
Okay. It's a man.
And,
And
some smoke.
some smoke. I guess we'll have to read to find out
Yeah, I don't know.
what that's about.
Can we add more questions to our sheet?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, that's a good idea. Let's stop because I don't want to give away the ending. And if you have more questions just from the picture walk, let's add that to our sheet. And if you want to share your questions.
I want to know who that guy is.
All right. Yep. Who is that man?
I want to know what the underwater palace is.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. See, as we're taking the steps towards comprehension, as we look at the pictures, your brains are working, you're thinking, what is that? You're curious, you want to know more. We'll find out. Okay. So let's get started. Let's read this book. The Dragon Prince, a Chinese Beauty and the Beast tale. Once there was a poor old farmer with 7 daughters. The land was so barren that he grew more rocks than rice. The family would have starved if it had not been for the youngest and prettiest daughter, 7. She could weave the finest silk and embroider the fanciest stitchery. Under her needle, unicorns, dragons, and other magical beasts came to life. Her work was famous among the noble families of the province. The third daughter, 3, was jealous of 7. "How come 7 gets to stay home while I have to work in the dirt?" she asked. The farmer scolded her, "Because she cooks and cleans and does the work of 3, while you spend all day plucking one weed." One afternoon, when their father had gone to town to sell 7's silk, 3 found a golden serpent in the rice fields and raised her hoe to kill it. 7 had brought her family's dinner down to the fields. "No, it's just a little water serpent." Stopping her sister, the kind girl picked up the serpent and left it outside their fields. "Shame on you for scaring my sister," 7 said, setting the serpent down and walking away. The serpent wriggled right to the hills of a cave, where he began to dance in circles until he changed into a huge dragon. That afternoon, as the farmer returned home, the dragon sprang from the nearby cave and seized the farmer in its paw. "Give me one of your daughters for a wife, and I'll give you your life as her bride price." "I couldn't order any of them to do a terrible thing like that," the farmer cried. "Then prepare to die," and the dragon raised a paw with claws as sharp as daggers. "No, wait!" the old farmer cried out in fright. Just then, the oldest daughter came looking for him. When she saw the dragon clutching her father, she shrieked, "Papa, come home! 7 has made rice and fresh fish soup especially for your supper." "My darling oldest child," the farmer said, "if you don't marry this dragon, I'll be his supper." "I'm sorry, Papa, but your supper will just have to get cold," she answered, and ran away to hide. It's not a very nice daughter. So it went with the next 5 daughters, until 7 herself came to find the rest of her family. When she saw the giant golden dragon, she walked slowly toward it, saying, "Papa, come home. I've made rice and fresh fish soup especially for your supper." The old farmer tried one last time. "My sweetest child, if you don't marry this dragon, I'll be his supper." 7's eyes measured the sharpness of the dragon's teeth and claws and the power of its armored body, and she was afraid. Yet she could not let her father suffer such a terrible fate. "Then you can have your supper, Papa, because I will marry the dragon." Releasing the farmer, the dragon reared up into the air. "Climb onto my back." As soon as 7 did, the dragon shot into the night sky like a meteor. Higher and higher they soared over hills and mountains, past deserts and seas, on, until the sleeping world became a ball of dark velvet, and the lake's silvery sequins. Still higher and farther the dragon raced, until the Milky Way wound its way across the night sky like an endless bolt of the whitest silk. So now we know that indeed the dragon is taking 7 somewhere. They flew so fast that they caught up with the moon, which shone like a giant pearl upon the sea. And within the sea lay towns and strange gardens and waving forests of kelp. With one last surge, they plunged beneath the surface to a vast palace of living coral. 7 found she could breathe beneath the water. Setting her on her feet in the courtyard, the dragon kept his paw around her. "Aren't you frightened? I could crush you like a twig." For a moment, 7 stood utterly still in his paws, gazing up at the dragon's face. His scales gleamed like jewels in a golden net, and his eyes shone like twin suns. It was a face of terror and a face of beauty. It was a face of magic. Slowly she stretched out her arm, and for a moment his large head flinched from her tiny hand. "I know the loom and stove and many ordinary things," she said, "but my hand has never touched wonder." This time, when she stretched out her hand, his head remained still, but the big eyes watched her. Gently, she stroked his cheek. "You are beautiful." "You are beautiful," the dragon replied. But you really should be frightened, he insisted. 7 smiled. The eye sees what it will, but the heart sees what it should. If you had meant to harm me, you would have done so already. So here we see them having this exchange. She's afraid, but not that afraid. I've worn many disguises and scoured the sky, land and sea, but I haven't found anyone who is your match. You are brave and kind, and true as well as beautiful, the dragon cried. He leapt away from her and began to dance, curling his powerful body as easily as a giant golden ribbon. And overhead, on the surface of the sea, the moon seemed to dissolve and fuse again like a school of fish darting this way and that. Then he began to spin in the water until he became a column of light, and from the light stepped the handsome prince. Now will it be such a terrible fate to marry me? He asked. 7 took his hand. No, she laughed. 7 now wore elegant silk robes, dined on the rarest delicacies from gold plates, and drank from jade cups. A dozen maids obeyed her slightest whim. Even so, she was not used to being idle, and asked for a loom. But now she embroidered only golden dragons on shoes she had made just for her prince. But as the days passed, 7 became sad and lost her appetite. When her husband asked her the reason, she told him she missed her family. Then he said, I understand it is the custom among your kind that brides may visit their families after they marry, but you must come back in 10 days. 7 promised. That very night she slipped into her finest robe and put on her jewelry, while her maids decorated her hair with precious pearls and jade. When she was ready, she climbed into a chair of gold and coral, and her servants lifted her out of the sea and into the air. Behind her chair flew all her maids. Her family was astounded the next morning when the glittering procession descended from the sky. 7 bowed to her father and greeted her sisters. You'll never have to work or go hungry again with all the gifts I've brought you, she said. When 7 told them about her husband, the family was happy for her, except for 3. 3 envied her sister's jewels and clothes and servants. They should have been mine, she said to herself. So the next day she took 7 down to the river for a picnic. There she asked her, Little sister, may I try on your things? To please 3, 7 exchanged clothes with her and let her put on her jewelry. Then they went down to the river to look at their reflections. But as 7 leaned over to see her image, 3 knocked her on the head and shoved her into the river. When 3 told the rest of the family what she had done, she warned them, The prince will come back as a dragon and eat all of you if you don't do what I say. Then they were so afraid that they did. They told 7's servant that she had fallen ill and sent a message to the prince. Don't be surprised if she looks different, they told him. When the prince heard, he didn't care. In that short time, 7 had come to mean everything to him, for not for her beauty, but for her kindness. So, what's happening in this picture?
3 is pushing 7 into the water.
Yeah, you see some pink robes down here. Her hat falling after her. Yikes.
All gloomy and dark and red in the background.
Exactly, the colors definitely show some conflict. Keep this in the computer. When 3 dressed in 7's clothes went to the palace beneath the sea, the prince did not say anything when he saw how ugly his wife was now. He was surprised, though, when she did not know where anything was, not even her room. She was all thumbs at the loom, and her embroidery stitches were ugly and clumsy. It's the illness, 3 lied. It's made me forget everything. Why do you pick on me? You will make me sick again. Though the prince apologized, he was uncertain, for neither his eyes nor his heart saw what they should. This cannot be my 7, he thought. He told 3 he was going to hunt, but he did not tell her for what. Determined to discover the truth, he set out, for the world above. Seven had not drowned. Down the river, an old woman had found her and taken her home. Seven was very sick, and the old woman nursed her for a long time. When Seven finally woke and told the old woman who she was, the old woman smiled. "You're confused, dear. You can't be that lucky girl. She returned to her husband already." To her dismay, Seven realized what had happened and shook her head. "My husband searched the world for someone who would be true, and yet he himself is not. He could not even tell the difference between me and my sister, and my family has betrayed me as well." The old woman felt sorry for Seven. "Why don't you stay with me for a while, until you are well?" she said. So Seven stayed with the old woman and wove the silk and embroidered the shoes that the old woman sold in the marketplace. Meanwhile, the prince searched everywhere for clues of his lost love. One day, he happened to pass through the market and saw the pair of shoes that the old woman was selling. Embroidered on the cloth were giant golden dragons dancing above the waves beneath the full moon. Hardly daring to hope, his heart pounding, the prince bought the shoes without bargaining, and then followed the old woman back to her shack. As soon as he saw Seven, he rushed inside. "I've been looking everywhere for you." "I wasn't sure," Seven confessed. "I heard that my sister Three took my place." He smiled, but not in my heart, which saw what it should. "So will you come home with me?" "Yes," said Seven. And the prince transformed himself into his dragon shape, and with Seven and the old woman on his back, he flew to his palace beneath the sea. They sent the shame-faced Three back to her family, and then Seven and the prince and the old woman settled down to a long and happy life together. So here we see the dragon with Seven and the old woman flying back to his palace under the sea.
He looks really happy.
He does look happy, and so do they.
Mm-hmm.
The end. So, what'd you guys think?
I liked it.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was cute, right? It was a good book. Nice story. So let's look at our questions. Let's see what we learned from this story. What time period does this take place? So what do y'all think? Based on, I don't know. Can we tell what time it took place?
Not really. Maybe old.
Not really.
It's not really in the past because we're working in the rice field and
Yeah, I don't, it's...
architecture maybe.
Perhaps.
Like Mulan.
And that took place a long time ago, so it does look similar. So yeah, it could be a few years ago, but we're not sure. It was a good thought, but we'd have to know more information. What other questions did we have?
They did live happily ever after.
They did live happily ever after. Yep, exactly. Now another thing. Did Seven have a mother? Do we know?
I don't think they mentioned her.
They didn't mention her. They just mentioned the father. So maybe the mom died, but we don't know. So what else?
That's like the other Beauty and the Beast too.
Yeah, exactly. That's another similarity. But in this story, the prince and Seven lived happily ever after, but who else went with them?
The old
woman. Old woman.
That's different.
That is different. There wasn't an old woman in the original Beauty and the Beast. In the
the old woman in the original one cursed the.
She was the witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So a little twist, a little bit different.
I think it took on some characteristics of other Western tales too. Like
what?
there are 7 of them, like the 7 dwarfs.
Yep, 7 is a key number.
They fly around like on a magic carpet, kind of.
It's a palace under the sea.
Yeah, palace
like
under the sea.
Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those are the similarities. What else is different about this story?
It carries on after they get married and like seem like they live happily together, and it takes it to another level.
Yep. There's another part of the story.
A different bad person.
Exactly.
And he can choose to be a dragon or a human.
Exactly.
Beast, yeah.
And he can be a human, a dragon, or
Snake.
a snake from the beginning. Yeah, he was also a snake. So, who was the villain in this story?
Three.
Yeah, her sister. Her sister. Exactly. And how is the father different in this story? What was the father?
Than the American version?
Than the Western version, yeah.
He wanted one of his daughters to go with the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He like wanted to save his own life.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah.
They did different things for a living.
What did this one do? In the Dragon Prince,
He
was a farmer. Mm-hmm. And in the American version,
He was an inventor.
He was an inventor. Yeah, exactly. What else did we learn? What other questions? Did we learn who the man was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was the dragon.
Was the prince. He was the dragon. Mm-hmm. What else?
The palace was his palace.
The palace was his palace. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We don't really know why there was a Chinese version of the
We
story.
We don't really know why. No, we didn't learn that, but I'd bet that we could find out if we did a little more research into this.
It wasn't really important to the story.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So do you think that in comparison with the version that we know, is this also a good fairy tale?
Mm-hmm. It's new. It's different.
It's a lot more magical.
It is a lot more magical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's part of Chinese culture, if magic is a more prominent feature of their oral tradition, their stories, their tales. I don't know.
They talk a lot about luck.
Mm-hmm. They talk a lot about luck. Yep, definitely. And actually, this is 7, as we know now, on the cover. She's wearing a robe, and red is the Chinese color for luck. So that's an interesting thing, too. So we can learn that as well. Okay. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed The Dragon Prince. This is a wonderful book. Like I said, the author and the illustrator are Chinese, but they're Chinese American. So they do live in the U.S. So I wonder if maybe they just wanted to make a Chinese version of the story accessible to us here in America. But all right, good job, ladies. Thank you for participating, and I hope you enjoyed the lesson.
Okay.